Welcome back to another AEW news update, and in today's video we discuss, is the Forbidden Door really open, and is Jon Moxley heading to Impact Wrestling? All that and more coming up in today's video, but first, let's take a look at the card for this week's AEW Dynamite. And Pac will be taking on Ryan Nemeth, and of course Ryan Nemeth is the brother of WWE superstar Dolph Ziggler. Chris Jericho and MJF of the Inner Circle will be taking on the Acclaimed. We will see a first round women's eliminator tournament match between Layla Hirsch and Thunder Rosa. Nightmare family members Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson take on Cesar Bononi and Peter Avalon. Darby Allin will defend his TNT championship against Joey Janela. Tony Schiavone will interview Sting, and finally in the main event of the evening, Kenta makes his AEW Dynamite in-ring debut as he teams with Kenny Omega to take on Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. And big match there in the main event following Kenta's debut on Dynamite last week, where he took out his future opponent Jon Moxley, and the two will go face to face in New Japan for Moxley's IWGP United States Championship on February the 26th at the New Beginning USA show. So it's looking like it's going to be a good episode of Dynamite, and this episode is pre-taped and was recorded last Thursday. The tournament to crown the #1 contender for Hikaru Shida's AEW Women's Championship begins this week with a match between Layla Hirsch and Thunder Rosa, which will kick off the American side of the bracket. As well as a USA bracket, the tournament will also feature matches filmed in Japan, and Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer is reporting that the Japanese side of things has already been taped or will be taped in the Ice Ribbon Dojo in Warabi Satami. So interestingly there, AEW working with another Joshi promotion in Ice Ribbon. It is currently not known how these matches will be aired, but Tony Khan has told Meltzer that he is working on something cool. The champion Hikaru Shida has confirmed that she is currently in Japan and is reportedly helping to produce the matches. It'll be interesting to see if the matches will air on AEW Dynamite, Dark, or maybe even on their own show. Dark Side of the Ring is a documentary series produced by Vice which covers stories from the gloomier side of wrestling. For its second season, AEW wrestler Chris Jericho narrated 10 episodes of the series, which covered the Chris Benoit case, Owen Hart's death, among other topics. Season 3 has since been announced, and Jericho will be making a return to the role. The official Twitter account of the series tweeted, "Great narration session today with Chris Jericho, the first of several for Season 3. We're excited to unveil the new episodes and stay tuned for official premiere dates." The season is set to feature episodes covering Grizzly Smith's family, who is the father of Jake the Snake Roberts, Brian Pillman, the 1995 Collision in Korea WCW event, Nick Gage, Bruiser Bedlam, FMW, and XPW. It has been reported that the Pillman episode will be the season premiere and is expected to begin airing later in the spring on Vice TV. And have you seen any of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes? Let me know in the comments down below. Former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Rocky Romero, who is now the liaison between foreign talent and New Japan Pro-Wrestling, recently appeared on the Wrestling Perspective podcast to discuss the recent deal between New Japan and AEW. He suggested that Kenta could be the only star we see in AEW from the Japanese promotion. He said, "Kenta coming to AEW, showing up on Dynamite really for one reason and one reason only, and that's because Moxley is the IWGP US Heavyweight Champion." This thing kind of got put together, we got the okay from Moxley to come to New Japan Strong, which is every Friday night. That's kind of where it all started, not knowing that Kenta was going to be on AEW. That came kind of later and quickly got put together. Everybody seems to be excited to work together because they knew it was going to be promotion-wise. It's going to be mega huge because nobody was expecting it. So there, Rocky is kind of suggesting that there is no official relationship between AEW and New Japan, and this is simply to build up to the Jon Moxley versus Kenta match. This contradicts recent reports of an official working relationship between the two companies. However, on the most recent episode of Being the Elite, the Good Brothers suggested that the Forbidden Door was open, with the Young Bucks then shutting down their claims by stating that it was closed shut. And if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure you drop a like down below and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming AEW content. But let's get on with the rest of the video. This interaction seems to suggest that this whole narrative is in fact a work, and that the Young Bucks are set to be potentially blindsided by invading Bullet Club members. The Bucks seem to be getting played by their stable mates in the storyline, and this seems to further that. The theory of a Bullet Club invasion is further backed up by a line from the AEW Dynamite Preview show, where Tony Schiavone said, "Is the Bullet Club getting back together?" And there is zero chance that AEW would risk saying Bullet Club's name without clearance from the other side. It's going to be an interesting few weeks of AEW and New Japan television, and it's also going to be interesting to see who the invaders will be aligned with should they show up. There's no doubt that they will be on the side of Kenta against Moxley, but will that also see them join up with Kenny Omega, the Good Brothers, and the Young Bucks, or will they also be on the end of their attack? Kenta told Kenny last week that they're not friends, so all options are open at this point. With Kenta in action this week, teaming with Kenny Omega in the main event of Dynamite, some are suggesting that this week could be the time to pull the trigger. But with that said, this week's episode was taped last week, and any major storyline developments would likely be saved for a live broadcast to avoid any spoilers and leaks. If I was a betting man, I'd say the invaders will side with Kenny and his crew to begin with, as to tie off the Kenta-Jon Moxley feud, with a potential civil war igniting in the future. Jay White and Tama Tonga currently live in Florida, which is of course where Dynamite is filmed week to week, so I think appearances from both of them are very likely at some point in the future. And let me know what you think of all that in the comments down below. And before we get to our final story of the day, I just want to quickly mention a video I uploaded yesterday titled The Moxley Era, Jon Moxley's Reign as AEW Champion. It's a documentary that covers Mox's entire reign from AEW Revolution all the way up to the Winter is Coming edition of Dynamite. And if you're a fan of AEW and Jon Moxley, I would recommend checking it out. The video will be linked in the description as well as on the screen at the end of this video. But speaking of Jon Moxley, is he about to head to Impact Wrestling? Now, going back to Rocky Romero's appearance on the Wrestling Perspective podcast, he seemed to drop a hint that Jon Moxley will be appearing in Impact at some point in the future. When discussing the New Japan AEW relationship, he also brought up Impact's relationship with the Jacksonville promotion and said, "The idea of the whole thing, it really goes down to Kenta and Moxley, and how Moxley is basically the centerpiece of all this. He really is. As much as you want to say Kenny is, but I really feel like Mox is, because Impact even coming to AEW was to work with Moxley." Now, this is surprising to hear, as Moxley is yet to appear on Impact Wrestling since they began to work with AEW, but this isn't the first time that we've heard that people within Impact are interested in bringing Moxley into the promotion. A report from Bodyslam.net in December of last year revealed that Moxley's former teammate Sami Callihan tried to convince him to sign with Impact Wrestling when the former Dean Ambrose left WWE in April 2019, with him ultimately choosing AEW. Callihan and Moxley had previously fought under the name The Switchblade Conspiracy, and Callihan has posted a number of tweets hinting at a reunion over the past few months following the announcement of Impact and AEW working together. And of course, this working relationship could well see this finally happen.